There we go.
Got it.
Beautiful.
Rock and
So yeah, send us questions, guys, and we'll get to them. And yeah, I just left one of my. I have a townhome. It's like a HOA kind of vibe. It's like across the street from the beach, private beach, nice place. It's really cool. It's a 3 bed, 2.5 bath. Anyway, I was just over there for the first time in a minute, and you know how that can go. And
Navy.
yeah, I went over there because we were getting a new Wi-Fi provider. It has HOA Wi-Fi, and it just sucks. It's actually not that. It's good Wi-Fi, but it goes out too often.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured I switched to like the actual company and pay for it. And I just noticed a few too many things, that needed to be done. And I'm like, man, I need to get some stuff done over here. Nothing crazy. Like the HVAC didn't have a filter.
Right?
Uh,
It's little stuff. You're like, if this was my space, it'd be perfect. But it's like, I mean, it's getting used and rented and turned over, and like things are getting broken, and your cleaners aren't always telling you, like craziness.
Yeah, John actually, he's sitting here listening to us. He made a good point. It's a beach property, so in like a month and a half, it's gonna be vacant for a while. So I'm just like, dude, just hold on, give me another 6 weeks, and then we'll get everything all fixed up. It's in good shape. We just painted it last year, and it's got good countertops and appliances and stuff. So it's just little, like the Roku's are all hanging off the TVs and all that stuff, and
Yep.
I just happened to glance at the thermostat and it said 72, but it was set on 70. I thought my cleaner set it on 72, and I was like, oh, that's cool of her, but let's crank it down to 70 because somebody's checking in. Nope, it was not keeping up. So that's how I was like, wait a minute, let me check this filter. Nasty, nasty, like, like it looked like you pulled it out of the dryer vent.
Yes.
In the corner. It wasn't even on the unit. It was taken out and put in the corner, which I may or may not have done that last time I was there, and just like, oh, I'll get a new filter, and never did it. But
That's
fun
what I love
stuff.
about these properties. People are here for the beach.
Yeah,
They just want a place to sleep.
I've been getting complaints about the Wi-Fi at that one like crazy, and I'm like, dude, why? Who cares? You got to get over that. Go to the beach. John, throw us any questions if they're coming in, guys. We're here to talk about basically anything today, remote management, buy how to buy, whatever you want to talk about. We're here. But yeah, Joe, what's going on in your world? I know you're in Carolina Beaches. Tell us a little bit about you and what you got going on.
Yeah, I've been struggling to get these units up and running. So we bought a 6 unit up in Banner Elk, and so I've been having to commute back and forth from the beaches to just get that final push to get it up and running. It's everything we talk about. I mean, I'm firing my first round of cleaners. Like it's not working out. It's not up to my standard, and so I hopped in the car, and I've been up here now for 2 days trying to finish that last push. But Carolina Beach has been great. Those are all stabilized. And like you said, off season's coming. That's when we're going to fix everything. And just having to add like little things now. Like I've never provided anything. We've always just been like, just make it as clean, cute, comfortable as best you can and run it. But now it's like, okay, we're going to add beach chairs, and we're going to add all the little extra things so that we can like kind of be a little above everybody else, just so we can keep those bookings rolling.
Yeah, I'm on the same page there. I've always kind of been the same. Like, we don't need all this craziness. And lately I've just because I've been traveling more, and when I get to a place that has that kind of stuff, I'm like, dude, this is awesome.
It's nice. It's real
Yeah.
nice.
Little stuff like alarm clock with USB ports kind of thing, next to the bed.
I got up here, I wanted a bottle of wine. We didn't have a corkscrew. I was like, that's 50 cents.
Well, but let's talk about that, because you can buy 72 of those, and they're all gone in a week.
It's true.
It's the flashlights and the wine openers. They disappear, and then the power goes out, and they're mad at you, and it's like, dude, I literally bought 400 flashlights 2 months ago, and they're gone. And I don't think people are like stealing them. They just, maybe they used the batteries out of them for something else or what, and they just I don't think it's malicious. It just happens. I get it. But oh, that yeah, I've seen that. It's 6 units. You said I've seen that building.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it's a little like townhouses all down in one row, but they're all there's a little condo complex, and it slipped through, and Garrett shot it over, and we jumped on it, and it's been we're stepping into the mountain season, at least up here in the high country that I'm seeing. Like our bookings are really starting to roll in now.
is it subdividable? Like could you sell them separately?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're all each individual condos. We actually closed each one as an individual loan, and so it was a 720-page loan document that took like 4.5 hours to sign it all.
Did you debate closing it as one loan?
I did, but I wanted exactly what you were talking about, having the ability to subdivide it out if we ever wanted to. Just the whole I mean, my strategy is buy and hold, keep it forever. Like we're doing a cost seg study on it now. We're gonna, if we ever do sell it, I want to 1031 the whole thing. But keeping that like long-term buy and hold strategy mixed with the short-term rentals, but still having the multiple exit strategies if we wanted to. I like options. Options are the most valuable thing in real estate.
I did that recently. I bought some duplexes for long term, and in one of my long term markets where I've got single families in that particular town, and these duplexes popped up. Well, they didn't pop up. One popped up. It's just one of those stories, you know.
Yep.
That's a whole different story. I'll get to the point. And that they're all right next to each other. And as a matter of fact, even the street. We may have talked about this already. The street, but
yeah, because none of us own any of our freaking streets.
yeah, you know, this is a small town in the middle of. It's in Alabama. You know, it's the South, and so there was a big issue actually with the road when I bought this 14 units, 7 duplexes. There's actually 8 duplexes. I don't own the 8th. But there's somebody who lives in it actually, and I've contacted him and offered him way too much money, and he will not respond. Period. But anyway, I got that weird odd man out because I went and painted mine all these like bright Easter egg colors, like kind of like a New Orleans thing.
Yeah.
And his is just like, you know,
Brown.
70s brick ranch thing. And it stands out like a sore thumb. Well, mine stand out, and his looks, you know, weird because the other ones are so obnoxious. But anyway, the road was owned by somebody since before these were even built, and that was a whole thing. We had to find who owned the road and get. It was a family, like 4 or 5 family members on this LLC that never functioned, but they technically were deeded the road, and so we had to get them to sign it over to us, and they did. It was a pain in the rear. It took about 2 months to find everybody, but they all signed. So now I'm responsible for this road. It's got a green street sign, which I always thought, you know, green sign means it's maintained by the city or county. No, not this one.
Not true.
So I gotta
verify.
Yeah, but anyway, when I bought these things, I thought that at the closing table it would be 7 duplexes. I thought it would be 7 closings, and they sent one document, and I'm like, wait a minute. I thought we were going to deed these separately, and they were like, no, we thought you wanted them all on the same. So we thought about it. You know, I thought about it for like a minute, and I was like, well, I can either just sign this and be done with it. One closing cost, one mortgage payment for the whole thing, or I can go back. It was really the going back and redoing it all that I didn't want to deal with.
Yep.
So I just signed it as one loan because I plan to keep it anyway. But in your situation, that's awesome, and you did it the right. If I had it to go back and do it again, I probably would have done it your way, even though again I'm not ever going to get rid of these things. But just to have that, you know, just in case, you know, it'd be easy to just sell one off and not have to refi the whole package.
Are they all individual like plats and like are they all individual properties already, or did they just do it as one? Like you didn't like combine them all or anything, so it's not like a subdivide situation. This is the blanket loan.
Yeah, it's a blanket loan on the 7 properties that are all deeded separately, and they are. I mean, they're if to look at them, it's 100% of, you know, individual. They all have their own septic systems, and it looks like a brick 70s ranch with 2 doors.
Well, pretty much. I mean, at any time, like I mean, the last blanket loan I did on my single family portfolio. I've got the option to break them out, and like they've got certain amounts deeded to each one, and so you can just sell them off anyway. And so it sounds to me like you probably still have that same option.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, if I wanted to sell one, I could just go like they had a name for it. I don't remember what it was. Reorganize the loan or something like that. That's not the word, but it kind of fits. But yes,
We got
could
some
do
questions.
that. Oh, there's a question. Yeah. All right. Which, by the way, I'll wrap it up. Those duplexes are looking badass now. When I bought that, it wasn't that long ago. It was maybe in the fall or maybe wintertime. Completely trashed. Typical, stereotypical slumlord. You know, the guy was just didn't care. I was really proud of him. He was just a regular dude with a regular job working at a auto part manufacturer, and he owned all these duplexes. But they were in disrepair big time, and the tenants were not. You know they just were sliding, and he was charging $600. So I've gone in, cleaned them all up, new roofs, new paint, new HVACs, new driveways, new interiors with granite. We put in dishwashers, and now I'm getting $925 on a 2-bedroom. So it's been a lot, big project, but a lot of fun. All right, here we go. Adam Wesh, we got inquiry for 2-night booking. Well, by the way, yes, I don't know how we got on the duplex thing, but we are short-term experts here. 2-night booking for September. Parents looking to book for daughter's honeymoon. Younger couple, 22 years old, but honeymoon doesn't necessarily scare me. What are your thoughts on the parents booking for them? I assume they're booking as a surprise. Be nice to pick up some September, which we all understand that. Now we call this a third-party booking. Joe, what do we do here?
I've broken my own rules on it before, but normally I say no.
Yeah.
I like to have them add them as an additional one onto it after they book. So it's like linking their account to it if it's Airbnb. But I definitely want all their contact information if I do it. But I have broken my own rules on it. Normally I say no.
It's my understanding that Verbo doesn't care about third-party bookings. So I let him slide there. And I found this information out by simply calling and asking. Now, as we all know, that if you call back 10 minutes later, you might get a completely different answer. So I do allow it on Verbo, and Adam, on Airbnb, I don't allow it because it is, as far as I know, it's technically against the rules on Airbnb.
Yep.
So I just tell them, hey, you're not allowed to do that. They call it a third-party booking, and from what I understand, if you do it and something happens with that guest, then there's some sort of loophole where they can kind of get out of their damages because they weren't actually on. Oh, it's an Airbnb. So technically, here, Adam, if it was a system within my organization, a policy, I would tell them, sorry, third-party booking. They're going to need to book it themselves. But yeah, it's a tough one because it's a honeymoon, and it seems this is very innocent here. Everybody involved is doing the right thing. They don't want their kid to know that they booked this for them, and but yeah, technically Airbnb rules would not allow this.
Yep.
Oh, we got another one here. Amy, which short-term shop market do you think has the greatest potential for appreciation?
That's a great question.
I'll let you take it first.
Well, obviously I'm going to say mine, but I think we need to reiterate all of the short-term shop markets. I mean, where are we covering now? We're in 13 now, aren't we?
We're 15 now, and hopefully soon one more. We're working very hard and have been for quite some time on a market that folks I think will be very interested in. But it's a big I mean, we just went into Myrtle Beach. That took us like a year. It's a big process to open a new market. At least the way, we got to do it right, So, but yeah, we're at 15 now. But yeah, I agree. I think yours is fantastic. Go ahead and talk it up.
I mean, it's got to be Carolina Beach. I mean, since there's so many other people here to defend their markets, but I don't know. North Carolina has just had a huge influx of people. And when I look at appreciation, like I'm buying for cash flow right off the bat. Like that is always my goal. But appreciation is really that icing on the cake. And so I look at population trends. Where are people moving? So anything in Florida is going to appreciate like crazy. Anything, in my opinion, North Carolina, Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, kind of the sub-markets that are feeding ours, the major cities, kind of within that 4-hour range. Texas, anything in Texas is just absolutely exploding. And that's the crazy thing is like the markets that we pick, it's not like we just pick a random market to open a short-term shop market. Like we take all this into consideration. Like just the interview process for me of finding out if Carolina Beach was one. I mean, it was months you guys were working on to decide if this is even a place you want to invest your time into.
Well, with you, it's a bit different because you're such a rock star, which is not easy to find. So you were kind of like it was like, yes, we were interested in buying the Yankees, but it just so happened we got Jeter while we were at it, kind of thing. So that was a no-brainer. But yeah, I mean, again, I agree. Appreciation is not something I honestly even care about. In a lot of ways, it's kind of screwed me over the years in certain ways. When I bought my first rental ever, it was a long term. It was in Nashville, and it was like 2000 and I don't know, 13, and yeah, it's about 10 years ago. And well, it was actually my second rental, but that's a long story. Anyway, house hacked on the first one, which we didn't know what that was back then. But thanks to bigger pockets. But yeah, I bought this house, right? And it was $122,000. We rented it out, and we couldn't afford it. Honestly, we were scraping pennies, and we sold some stuff for this down payment. We were just starting out. I think we'd just gotten married, and Matt Castle. You had me at Jeter. I thought he was a Mets fan. Anyway, we bought this house, 122 grand, put a tenant in there for $1,500. And it was, that was dynamite. It was like a second income stream for us back in the day. We were young and, we had regular old low budget day jobs and the whole thing. And that extra $400, $500, $600 a month was a huge deal. And next thing you know, we started saving obviously right away because you get hooked, and we were ready to go buy another one. And the same house, literally the exact same house across the street, went for sale, and it was like 190 or something, but it was still only rent for $1,500. Next thing I know, they're like 220, 230, 250, 270. I ended up selling mine for 320 something, 327. Paid 122. So this is where you're like, oh my God, this is why I need to get in real estate. Appreciation rules. But here's and it does, because I took that and I 1031 exchanged that single family home after I think we owned it about 6 years, and I exchanged it into 26 units apartment building. Now I did come out of pocket a little bit, but I had a couple $100,000 there towards this 26 unit. So yes, fantastic, a wonderful, amazing situation, which have helped create a lot of wonderful things in my life. But at the time, I was mad. I was like, dude, I can't buy the one across the street because even if I could afford the 190 grand, it's going to lose money every month because it won't rent for what I needed to rent for. So anyway, our markets aren't necessarily, that's not happening in our market. Nashville in the early mid 2000s is a complete, that's a fluke, freaking nature thing. It's like Austin, Texas was really the only other example that you could think of that did something similar. But anyway, I understand where your head's at there, Amy, and appreciation has done wonderful things for me. Although I agree with Joe, cash flow needs to be, especially when you're first starting out, number one. And yeah, I think he's right. I think Destin is an area that's gone absolutely nuts in the past few years, and I think that's going to continue. And I do think that the rents are going to go up. Joe, if there's one thing I've learned in now 11 years in the business, there's two things I know: the damn property tax is always going to go up, and the rent is always going to go up. Always. I mean,
Always.
always.
Across the board. It doesn't matter if it's short term. Doesn't matter if it's long term. We're making more now than we ever have. And don't get me wrong, taxes are going up, like other expenses are going up, but they don't go up they're not 1-to-1. Like our rents are going up substantially more. And I think that's just a product of supply and demand. As more people need places to live, our long-term rents are going to go up, but our short-term rents are going up too, in my opinion.
Well, and I think the dollar's just not worth what it was it's just not there anymore. I went and bought. You go buy a Subway sandwich. Whatever happened to a $5 footlong?
Exactly.
It's $18 for a Subway and a soda. Well, at least where I live in expensive tourist town, soda and a chip and a sandwich, $18 or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I did hear yesterday. Now this might have been a pitch, but I'm swapping some HVACs actually on those duplexes. And my guy was like, dude, their HVACs are going up 50 to 100% by 2023. I'm sorry, he said 2025 compared to what they are right now. So 2 years, really, 2.5 years. 100% increase on HVACs. And I don't know that I disagree. I know he was pitching me, which is fine. It's like, dude, come on. I've done so many units with this guy, dude. You don't need to pitch me. But I got a random quote in a random town that I'm not as familiar with, and these prices on HVACs are like, they're up there, man. My insurance is way up there. My little single family and duplex long-term rentals, they used to let me do 80 cents on the 80 cents a square foot for rebuild. And as of like last month, they bumped everything to $1 on a square foot for my rebuild on my insurance. So my insurance went up, I guess 20% really in the past month. And they're right, because where in the hell are you going to get somebody to build at that? Don't quote me on those numbers, guys. Somewhere in there, those numbers make sense in my brain, but I don't remember things, so don't quote me on that. But it's true, to rebuild the house today, it's going to cost you more. And yeah, it seems lumber prices are coming down and things like that. But manpower is brutal right now. I'm trying to find a landscaper, dude. It's insane. You'd think I'm like trying to build a rocket to go to Mars and can't find somebody to help me do that. It's like, yep. I just want my house to look just put some freaking bushes,
I was trying to add a few parking spots here up in Banner Elk, and the quote was like $34,000. I rented a backhoe.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast. I'm like, I don't know how to drive this, but it's working. So it's not going to be close to as good, I'm sure, but I'm having a blast.
Yeah. It's tough. I
don't recommend that.
I'm looking for somebody to do some decks right now, and dude, I can't even get anybody to answer the phone. All right, Robin, what do we have here? Which would you advise? Sell primary? Okay, here we go. This is a scenario what she should do to get where she wants to be. Sell primary home, buy 2-family flat, to house hack a duplex, I think is what she's saying there.
Yep.
Letting other unit cover the mortgage and save more to eventually buy in the Smokies, or partner now with a friend on a $500,000 cabin in Smokies. Can't afford the down payment on the Smokies by myself right now. All right, I'll let you go first again. I think we're going to say the same thing.
I think we are too. But I am such a big fan of house hacking. Like, you can't beat the return on a house hack, especially getting started. And I think it really depends more on your risk tolerance. Like, I think the house hack is a safer move. I think the quote unquote safe. I think buying one of the Smokies, you're going to have better cash flow, better appreciation long term. But I just don't think you can beat a house hack with a 5% down conventional loan. Like, it's gonna be the least money out of pocket. It's gonna be your highest return overall. And then building that base foundation and then investing as hard as you can into higher appreciating, higher cash flow items. That's kind of where I fall on that, especially as it's set. I don't know all the backstory, but it sounds like this might be your first investment. I don't know that though. What do you think?
I do agree. I do agree. I'm gonna throw one thing in there though. Let's get both, Robin. I've always been a shoot for the stars guy. I like Grant Cardone. I listen to, I'm really big into the, like, let's not settle for second best. Let's take over the damn world. So I would 100% lean to get the duplex. Do that, especially if you can do that without a partner and you can move in. And it's great that you even know that exists. So yes, if you have a duplex in mind right now that you can get into with an FHA and live in it and rent the other unit and work on it and new windows over time, that kind of thing, no brainer. You got to do it 100%. And here's the deal with the partner. at a certain point, you know, if you're brand new and you partner, at a certain point, you might say, man, I want to get out of this partnership. So at that point, does it even matter that you put money into it or not? Maybe, maybe not. So, I mean, why not just ask whoever this person you were going to partner with to do the whole, bring all the money, and you take a very little cut, a small cut, however you want to structure that is fine. There's 8 trillion ways to structure that. But maybe you take a smaller cut just to learn, get your foot in the door, and let them bring all the money. Next thing you know, you got yourself 3 doors. Boom.
Right there, taking it all over at one time. I love it. And then you get the experience of learning how to run a short-term rental and building up at least some additional capital while you're house hacking and while you're doing that. Like you're learning, you're paying for that education, and then you can go out and buy your own too. I love it.
100%.
Too easy. It's a hard question.
Where you at right now with your properties is coming into slow season, I would assume. And what do we do there? I mean, I've just looked at my numbers across the board just yesterday, and I'm up like 23 grand over last year overall for the entire year. So I still have time to beat that. That does include future bookings. And I also have one more property than I did last year. Well, I had it for 3 months last year. So I'm already like pretty much, I feel like everything I make from now, or any new bookings I get from now until Christmas, are gravy. If there's anything left to, some of them don't even have anything really left to book. But how you doing, you know, as far as rents are concerned this year?
We're pretty much right in line with what we did last year on my beach portfolio. And maybe ticking a little bit above it, but more staying consistent. All my units are smaller. Largest beach unit I've got to 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And so I think they took a little bit more of a hit. They've definitely taken a bigger hit on my anxiety levels, because they're booking up like the week before or 2 weeks before sometimes. And I'm just like, everything's empty. And then whenever you look back at our calendars, they're completely full. So they've been really hitting at my anxiety recently, but they are filling. So we're happy, but we're right kind of online, a little bit over. I haven't dug into them too much this month. But from last month, we were kind of right in line with the year before, because I was behind the curve on the interest rate hike side of it. Whenever everything kind of initially slowed down and the bookings kind of tapered off, I kept my prices way too high, and I didn't adjust with the market as it was coming down. Now that I've gotten that figured out, we're right back where we were supposed to be. And so I do think we're going to outperform this year, but I got to take a closer look at it. I've been a little preoccupied on this backhoe over here.
Yeah. And that's a good thing, because, you know, you get to the point where they just need to function. You don't need to squeeze every single tiny penny out of the property, because, you know, you got enough of them that it's just, you know, it's a different vibe. When I first started, it was like, I have to get every night filled, or I'm failing, and I can't pay my bills and all that. And it's a good feeling to be able to back up. But I still, like, I have one property right now that well, my September stinks. Like, my September overall is better than last year already. So even though this property is not performing in September, I don't really need it to say that, you know, because I don't like seeing those white spots there. But it's nice. It's one of the well, I guess it's kind of bittersweet as you scale. You have those memories, you know. It's like, I want that thing to be the greatest on the planet, but at the same time, I've got this entire family to take care of over here.
Exactly. It's like you're 11 years into the business now. It's like you've built that up to a point where it doesn't have to perform 100%. But like my highest return on my dollar right now is getting these 6 units up and doing everything I can to make them perform. And sure, if my beach ones don't do quite as much because I've kind of diverted my attention, it doesn't matter, because I'm replacing it with 6 others. And so it's get them rolling and know what your highest dollar per hour task is all the time. That's the important part, in my opinion.
And so these 6 units, what'd you pay?
1.5 for these
okay,
ones.
So what's the math on that?
It's actually got a little AU in it too.
So it's 200 a unit or something like that? A little more?
Yeah, 250 a unit.
250 a unit. All right. Okay, cool. And what do you think they'll gross?
It should gross between 280 and 300. It's kind of the where it's supposed to fall. So kind of around that 45 to 60,000 gross per unit. Um, Typical like condo type style one up here. And Garrett saw this one slide through and was like, "Hey, you need to buy this. Need to buy it now." Yeah, and we jumped all over it. He's actually living in the ADU.
Charge him extra. So he's one of our agents, by the way, but a great dude. So, oh man, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Well, anyway, I did have another question. What do you make of this whole last minute thing? Because we see that all across the board. It's everybody is talking about how everything's last minute right now, and I got a couple of thoughts on it, but I'm not really sure what to make of it.
Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time beating my head on a wall on it because it doesn't make sense to me all the time. My thoughts have been kind of consumer habits of you've got more people spending money now at the gas pump, at Walmart, at like your basic necessities. And so planning out in the future, people don't want to put a lot of capital aside for like a big trip. But I'm still seeing a lot of people that want to travel. And I think people are bargain hunting is what they're doing. I think they're looking at like, okay, what can I do? How can I stretch my dollar the farthest? And I don't know about you guys. Whenever I'm looking for a deal, I'm looking for someone who needs to move something quick. And so I'm looking for like, okay, kind of last minute stuff of like, they need to move it and need to move it now. I'm just now on the receiving end of it. And so I found that adjusting our calendars has been what's the most effective at getting the last minute bookings of just little changes here and there, but really have upped our time that we spend on our calendar. Like pretty much every day now we're changing something, even if it's only $1, we're changing stuff. Things like that.
It's an interesting perspective. Are you trying to imply that you think that this is a cultural shift and that people are booking last minute on purpose because they think that there might be some deals?
To a degree, but more of people are just unsure. You're thinking like everyone keeps hearing beaten to their head, we're in a recession, we're in a recession, we're in a recession, when the economy as a whole isn't really showing that. But I think if people act that way, if they think that way, they're going to look closer at their pocketbook and not be willing to put just a huge sum out there for a future booking when they're like, well, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 months. I don't want to book something out there. What if I need that money? And then I think it's coming up to that point. And they're like, well, I didn't need the money. I've got the money to spend. Now I'm going to find a deal. So long story short, yes, I do think that personally, but that's all a theory. This is all speculation.
Interesting. Never thought of it that way. I think maybe, there's another thing is the stock market. It's like one day it's down in the gutter and the next day it's yesterday it was through the roof compared to the day before. And it's like all over the place. And I don't know anything about stocks, but I do pay attention because obviously it has a lot to do with the economy, I suppose, but not my thing. I definitely put my money in what we're talking about here, which is real estate. All right, let's go to Amy. Great question. I've got a 4-4 with no view in the Smokies. She wants to know about January and February. I did great in May by reducing prices early. Thought I was doing this for September, but I'm only 50% booked. In other words, she's getting ahead of it and lowering the slow times earlier rather than later, which is what you should do. But I'm only 50% booked for September. Thinking of setting my Sunday through Thursday Jan-Feb prices to close to my min $200 right now to try. Yes. Amy, here's what I would do. Go to Airbnb and Vrbo and you set your calendar, your availability, your future availability to, they both have different names, but they I don't know what they're called off the top of my head, but it's like indefinite availability. So switch it instead of 6 or 12 months to the indefinite. Then you go on your management software and you block manually. I would say March 1st on this particular property. March 1st indefinitely into the future. And that, because here's why you got to do it that way. If you leave it at 12 months and 12 months on Airbnb and Vrbo, and then you go block March 1st until 12 months on your management software, it's still going to roll off one day in the future as the 12 months rolls by. So in other words, next thing you know, your 4th of July is available and you didn't even realize it.
Mhm.
And then you got your 4th of July booked for less than because you didn't even know it was available. So if you do that indefinite availability, again, that's not the term they use, but on Airbnb and Vrbo, then you can customize how your availability basically. So that's what I would recommend, Amy. It sounds like that's what you're leaning towards anyway. And yes, I would, sorry, I got distracted by the next question. I'd keep those prices low. Anything other than MLK and for Valentine's, January, February, and the Smokies, they're just gravy. They're gravy days. In other words, we need to expect them not to book, especially on a larger property like that. And if they do book, it's gravy train. And so, yes, I think that I would have no problem with $200, Amy, on that particular property. But I am a low price butts in the seats kind of guy. Some people would rather have higher price per night, lower occupancy. So I think what my answer, long-winded answer is to you is yes, do exactly what you're talking about. And I would get working on January, February now. Even the first couple of weeks in November and December. Those are hard to book too. They're not a end of January hard, but they're not easy. So, Amy, great job getting ahead of it. Because if you don't get ahead of it, next thing you know, all your neighbors got the bookings, and you're left with no bookings in the slow season.
Now, Luke, how did you set your minimum price in the Smokies? Of like, I don't want to go below this rate because after that, like my place is going to get trashed. How did you get kind of that number for your portfolio?
In general, or are you talking about like what she's talking about in January, February, or just in general?
Well, in general, but then applying it to like our upcoming season of like, okay, we're keeping our price a little bit lower. Is that minimum starting to go down for you in relation to that? Like, give me this whole shebang.
Yes. So this time of year, my prices are lower, and my average nightly rate, the middle number, is much lower. And because here's the deal: if you're coming right now, like specifically, she mentioned the Smokies. If you're coming into this season right where we are today, and you lower your minimum and you leave your average the same, it's not going to hit where I want it to hit. It's probably going to lean more to this price labs we're talking about. It's going to lean more towards that average number than it is the low. So in other words, if I lower on her, she's got a 4.4. She's saying $200 in January, which is low. But let's just go with that. So if I'm to put 189 as my min, which is too low, but we may need to go that low occasionally. And then I leave my average at like, normal summertime average. It's not going to go where I want it to in the low dates, because it doesn't necessarily know. Price Labs has never been to your house. It's never been to your town. It's never, it doesn't know that. It may not know that January needs to be rock bottom. So it's probably kind of basing January more on your average number, your middle number, because it is so far into the future. But right now, I need my January rock bottom even now in the Smokies, well, on the beach too, at least in my beach markets, because nobody's going to book them, even though it's super far in advance. In other words, let me flip it. If it's January right now,
Yep.
and I'm open in August, or let's say I'm open in June, I'm probably not quite open in July yet because I don't need to be. And I've got my low, super low, to accommodate those upcoming January dates. Price Labs will make June super high because it's so far in advance. I want that in the spring and the summer. Right now, I don't want that. So you got to be careful that your middle number, your average number, is not too high, because then next thing you know, these super far in advance dates, which is right now undesirable dates, are too high. Nobody's going to book them. Next thing you know, you look at it January 1st and you're like, crap, I got nothing for the next 2 months. And it's because that average number was too high and you didn't realize it.
Well, you're telling me I can't set it and forget it and just let it be there forever?
No. I do Price Labs a minimum of once a week. I try to do it more than that. Yeah, I mean, as you know, and I know what you're getting at. You're going to get more bookings for multiple reasons, because you're going in there and pricing it accordingly to what's going on in your world right now, based on how booked you are or not, and the season. But changing your prices, as most people, understanding, is the best way to hit algorithm on both on Airbnb and Vrbo. So
Yeah. And I don't want to get into the witchcraft of the algorithm, but I see a positive correlation between making changes and bookings. And so, but who knows? I don't.
100%. No, we know. We know. We don't know. We don't know, but we know.
We don't know, but it's out there. Something's
We
happening.
know. We know. So, KB, this is a hot topic right now. I believe Avery's going to have a short-term show on the subject here in the next probably 3 weeks, I would guess. Vetting accountants, bookkeepers. This is difficult. It's difficult because, well, here's the first problem. If you're looking for a CPA right now, you're looking for next year. You're looking for your 2023 tax season. Somebody that's going to file your taxes in a year and a half. That's what you're looking for. So if you're out there shopping for a CPA right now, they're not going to want to talk to you. You know, they're already knee deep. And bringing on another client right now that doesn't even understand the fact that it's going to be next to impossible for them to catch up and get them filed for 22, they're going to be annoyed, and they're probably just going to ignore you because CPAs tend to be more like, you know, nice and just kind of brush you off rather than telling you the truth. I've seemed to notice that, but that's my thoughts. Where are you at with it?
They're filing extensions for 2021 right now. I mean, like the extensions are coming up here in the next like week and a half. Like, I mean, my CPA is working till midnight every night right now. Like, he can barely take my calls. So, yeah, that's a real hard one right now. I'm glad we're doing a short-term shop episode on it because
she is. Yep, we're gonna have a lot of tax stuff coming up here pretty soon because it's a hot topic. And it's something that I'm interested in because it's a big part of the business. But yeah, KB, I think the best way to be vetting accountants right now is to be doing so for the future. I think it's the first thing you say when you call them is say, hey, I'm not really I'm just trying to get on your radar for next year. I know it's probably a bad time to be doing that, but what do you think? And if you only got 1 or 2 properties, maybe tough it out and do it yourself this year and then hang on to that person for the next year. Bookkeepers, yeah, go ahead and hire a bookkeeper. Here's my thing with that. That was my first hire in the biz. And, I was Brandon Turner. He said, go hire a bookkeeper. Or he talks about, what it is your weaknesses. And that was my weakness. I love my spreadsheets. I do. I love them. I tweak them and look at them all the time, but I'm not the kind of guy that's going to sit there and fill in all those holes all day. So, I knew that the bookkeeping was definitely my biggest weakness, and it was what I needed to hire. And I sucked at it bad, KB, to answer your question. I was really, and by the way, KB, I noticed you're on the groups all the time. I appreciate that. But I was horrible at it. I wasn't good at hiring in general back then. And I was trying to get discounts. I was trying to make them work harder for less money. And you just can't do that. First of all, bookkeepers are pretty cheap anyway. I mean, it's for what you're getting. It's not a lofty thing here that's going to kill your bank account. What you get for what you're paying is a big return, I think. So I think go ahead and start shopping for a bookkeeper. But then again, KB, keep this in mind. I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in there. Generally, your bookkeeper will be with your CPA. A lot of times they're in-house. Or if they're not in-house, your CPA will say, here, I really like this bookkeeper. You should hire them because the bookkeeper is just preparing things to give it to the CPA. And if the bookkeeper didn't prepare it the way the CPA wanted, likes it, then you got a problem. And then the CPA is going to go in and redo it all and charge you extra, and it's going to take forever. So if they don't have one in-house, you're going to ask them for who they recommend. One more note on that, and then I'll get Joe's take, is if you can't find a good CPA this year, you end up doing it yourself. Like I mentioned before, find a bookkeeper anyway, because when you do switch to the CPA you like and you get somebody that's going to rock and roll with you, yes, they can take over the books, but it'll be a lot easier for them to take over professionally done books than whatever you may or may have not done on your own. Okay. So Joe, what's your take on this?
To the T, contract out the stuff that you don't like. I mean, if it feels heavy, don't do it. If it feels light, that's your groove. That's where you need to be. And you need to start as you continue to build up more cash flow, you hire out those pieces. And bookkeeping for me was the exact same way. I'm not the super organizer. I'm the visionary. I like to go create problems and create messes, and um, I like other people that can kind of sort through those and fix them. But I love that tip on like get them connected so they know they're doing it correctly. I need to do a better job on that with mine, of just having it so they're more interconnected. But yeah, same thing. It's if you're vetting people right now, good luck. You might have to tough it through this one. And yeah, bookkeeper's so important. I could not stand to do that one. Kicked my butt.
Yeah. All right, one more question here on Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge seems to be last minute outside of tweaking numbers and price slabs. What can I do? It's a 3, 2.5 lakefront. Well, sounds awesome. I would like to see it. My first suggestion, Candy, is take it over to the listing rehab group, short-term
rehab.
Yeah, listing rehab. The Facebook group, it's called Short-Term Rental Listing Rehab, and post it, because I'd love to see this thing and give you some more critique and some advice on, because I think pictures can make or break this thing. Just because you said lakefront, like, do I know that? Like, can I see where the house is, based on where the lake is? And outside of tweaking my numbers and price slabs, anything else I can do? Yeah, I definitely would need to see the listing. What do you got for her, Joe?
Yeah, make sure that you're prepared for brutal critiquing in that group, because we're not going to pull any punches, especially since you're asking for it on live. We're going to go deep on that one when we see it. But yeah, that's it. I mean, we got to see it. Like, I mean, you got to have professional photos, cute, clean, comfortable. Like, there's so many little things that you can do. I mean, we were talking before we got on the back on live about how we're talking about adding beach chairs and umbrellas and all that stuff to my Carolina Beach ones, because everybody else is doing it now. And I want to be the one that it's really nice and people recommend it, and keep fighting for those 5-star reviews. I mean, I don't know you, Luke, but just because I've got 1,600 5-star reviews now doesn't mean that I'm not still fighting for them.
Do you really have 1,600?
We're real close. We're like right under that.
That's massive. So
half, not all 5s.
Are you all you do both platforms, or?
I just recently switched to both platforms. I was diehard Airbnb for way too long, and I'm just now getting everything over to Verbo, and it's changed my life. They're such better tenants. I can't believe I've waited so long to do that, but that's all you, actually. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Now listen, let's not start a controversy. For a guest, we call them, of course, guests, but we're not here to open the Airbnb versus Verbo can of worms. I don't even want to do.
That's great.
But good for you. Congratulations. And it's because you're getting older is what it is. When I first started, I was like, Airbnb rules, Airbnb. Now I got kids. I'm in my 40s. I'm like, let's do this Verbo thing. Let's be old. But she said she posted it in the listing rehab group. Great. We'll get to that. Candy, I'll go look for it now. So good times. We're gonna let everybody go. Thanks for joining us. We'll put this on. We'll throw it on YouTube and refer back to it if we need to. Joe, I appreciate you.
Too fun. Let's do this again.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.